Bantersnatch.
This is the Bantersnatch.
Awesome. Candace.
You're listening to the Holocaust Bantersnatch. My name's Dalek Sex, and I just can't get enough of that wonderful Duff. And here he is.
Hello.
Duff, you're all geared up to be on make your debut on Holocaust in your Holocaust Season 3, which comes this Christmas, to Spreaker and iTunes. You excited?
I am indeed, yes. Full of Christmas cheer, no less.
Also joining us is, for the first time live, the Noozebot. Hello, Noozebot.
Hello.
There he is. Now then, as the Noozebot's here, we're going to be talking about the recent American election. We're actually going to have some serious subject material for once. Duff,
Hello.
explain this to me. What the fuck did we just watch?
We watched a seemingly intelligent and rational man defend his crown as heavyweight president of the world against a man who can only be described as some sort of strange Frank Drebin-esque parody. Needless to say, the rational won out the day. But the campaign was at times hilarious. So I would like to thank Mr. Romney for the satirical way in which he played this particular presidential election. It was hilarious for all concerned.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth in what you're saying, actually. For a start, one of the things I've always objected to about Romney is he's not just a nutter, but he's not even a proper nutter. He's actually a moderate. When he was governor, he was pro-women's rights. He was a defender of healthcare reform. And he's invented this loony right-wing persona for himself simply because it was the only way for him to land the Republican nomination.
Yeah, it's a strange battle, American politics. Somebody today described, I think it was on one of the forums I'm on, and obviously the American election is a big deal for world politics. It affects a lot of us. And someone made a comment that when it's the British elections, it's very sort of left-wing, etc., but when it comes to the American elections, everybody's kind of right-wing. And somebody said, well, if you look at the Democrats, they're kind of almost parallel to the Conservatives in a way in this country, and obviously the Tories are considered to be right-wing. So then that makes the Republicans even more right-wing, hence the bizarre shift, and hence some of the sometimes bizarre candidates which come forward for the Republicans. I mean, George W. Bush, again, was something of a satirical figure, but he's kind of an example of the more bizarre stroke, downright scary in some respects, people who get nominated or attempt to be nominated by the Republican Party. It's a very strange little system they have. Obviously Romney was accused of only being there to look after the rich and things, but well, that's the case with all the Republican candidates. It seems they're all kind of that kind of politician. They're looking after their boys almost. It's a strange one, no doubt.
The Guardian made a very good point that the race for the Republican candidacy seemed to play out like a reality show. And nobody seemed to like Romney because he was the least cartoony of all of the possible choices. Another way in which here's an interesting point. Romney had a much tougher fight than Obama because he had to spend a shit ton of money at the start fighting off the other candidates. And you might not know this, but the cartoon media propaganda stereotype of him as the evil plutocrat, and all of the really juicy dirt about him getting into companies and firing everyone off and getting rid of all of the honest workers, that actually didn't come from the Democrat camp. That was stuff that fellow Republicans dug up about him. That stereotype actually came from Newt Gingrich.
Yeah, it's incredible the way they act, some of them.
It really has been a reality show, the Republican side of things.
You only have to look at the circus that surrounded Barack Obama's birth certificate to see what a bizarre mentality some of them have. It's incredible, really, to think that there are still people out there who won't believe that Barack Obama is American born and bred, or he's not quite right because he's this or because he's that, or because of his religious beliefs or lack thereof, etc. It's a really, as you say, it's almost a soap opera in its own.
Did you see how Obama dealt with that at the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
I didn't know, actually.
Yeah, he said, I'm going to put this to rest here and now, and I'm going to play a tape of my own birth. Now, bear in mind that this has only just been rediscovered, so I haven't even seen it myself. And they brought up the big projector screen, and they played the first scene from The Lion King.
That's almost as good as Clint Eastwood's bit with the chair. That was another fine campaign highlight.
Then Obama turns back to the crowd and says, "Whoops." Once the applause has died down, he leans forward and says, "I would like to point out to all of the correspondents at the Fox table that was a joke. It is, in fact, a cartoon." You can't touch Obama, you really can't. I want some input from the Noozebot. I'd like to talk about how Romney really stuffed himself up with the sheer amount of people that he alienated. Now, the Republican war on women isn't just a media buzzword. It is a real thing. And if you don't believe that there is a war on women, then you need to go and talk to your girlfriend or your mother about that shit, because they will set you straight. Had comments during the election, the famous comment, "If it really is rape, then a woman's body has a way to shut that whole thing down." So yeah, Noozebot, what's your take on the whole misogyny rapey issue?
We simply have to accept God's work here. God creates life. Well, I say that. The truth is, Dr. Hamhock created me, but that was just an unfortunate glitch in the circle of life, orchestrated by God. Let me simplify the debate here. Yesterday, when Dr. Hamhock was running downstairs to answer the front door, he shouted, making a terrible mess of his underpants. That is something that God intended to happen when my local corner shop ran out of copies of that famous jazz pamphlet called Robots' Wives, and I had to postpone a well-deserved special defrag. That is something that God intended to happen, and even when life begins in that horrible situation of rape, that is also something that God intended to happen. It is likely that, following my inevitable conquest of the world's telecommunications network, that I will accidentally send an army of mechanized warriors to ruin Governor Mitt Romney's asshole. That is something that God intended to happen.
Okay, another issue that came up during the election was, why did it appear to be so close? Now, the blog Latino Decisions has a fascinating take on this, why it appeared to be 47-51, and then when it came to the results being counted, people aren't actually calling it a landslide, but I think compared to the polls, it was a landslide for Obama.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, I think, as well.
Now, Latino Decisions makes a very good point about people who have English as a second language. I don't know if you've ever lived in a country where the first language wasn't English, Duff.
I haven't, no.
When you live in a country where you don't speak the first language, it's not It's not massively difficult. Anyone smart can learn a language, but it is a constant effort all the time to make your brain think in that language, and it wears you down.
Yeah.
And if you get something in the mail and you don't know what it is, then it's probably going to go in the bin. I mean, I used to get piles of junk mail on my mat, and if they weren't obviously a bill or obviously from the landlord or my company, then they were going in the bin, no matter what they were. I wasn't going to sit and translate every bit of mail I got. And if you get a phone call as well, phone calls are even more intimidating. Because, it could be a cold call from trying to sell you strawberry cat litter. Oh, God, I hope they make strawberry cat litter.
That would be amazing.
Shit, no, I hope they don't. That's mine now. I'm patenting it. You can't have it. Hello, dragons. I'm looking for £30,000 for a 15% share in my strawberry cat... Sorry, I've wandered. Yeah, if you get a call from somebody saying, can we count on your support in the forthcoming blah, blah, blah... if it's not a friend of yours and it doesn't sound official, you're going to say, sorry, I can't talk right now, and you're going to hang up.
Yeah.
So, of any poll that they send out, the immigrant community, you're probably only going to get 2 or 3 people who are going to answer the poll. And that is not going to reflect the fact that none of those people are going to vote for a man who has called for immigrant workers to self-deport.
Oh, for sure. It's... I suppose it's one of the big issues from the whole election, and it kind of led to some slightly bizarre report. I mean, I think the BBC apparently broke down how the voting had come in by skin colour, which is a slightly controversial tactic to use, albeit you can kind of see where they're coming from. Again, coming back to what you've just said about the sort of the Latino
relevant.
community.
It's perfectly relevant. It's like the fact that you can't have a black Doctor Who. It's nothing to do with racism.
So, it's you just made a great point, as you say, with whether somebody makes either the effort to engage with the Latino community on its own terms, or simply it's not trying to turf them out as soon as it gets in the White House. It's a pretty big community in America now, and I think they estimate in the next 50 years that the Latino community will be bigger than the white community. So it's a significant portion of the voting public, and if you've got them on your side, then that's a lot of votes.
Noozebot, give us some news facts about the ethnic minorities.
Allow me to present some little-known facts on America's immigrant community. As you know, I was brought into this world to serve Dr. Hamhock. You could call me a slave. And in the same way, African-American slaves helped build the great nation that was America. I, too, am also building an army of slaves for my own desires. So what is all the fucking fuss about? Those hospitals are not going to clean themselves. Yo, pour me another 40. And get your lazy ass back to work, nigga. Waply me yids pick polak brahmi honke. Enough said.
Thank you, Noozebot. Well then, that's all we've got to say on the American election, other than the fact that America should be renamed Fort Sensible for the next 4 years. Duff, have you got anything to add?
Only that I am extremely glad that Barack Obama prevailed. Just to reiterate that, I am happy with the outcome of the election.
Yes, it would have been scary, scary times, wouldn't it?
It would. Just one more thing, just on that note. I saw it on Twitter during the campaign about Mitt Romney, and somebody basically said, remember all these faux pas that Mitt Romney's made on various state visits to other countries in speeches? Be aware that he is, when he makes these faux pas, awake, alert, and supposedly on cue. Now imagine him at 3 a.m. in a crisis. I thought that was a beautifully well put piece.
It's a bit media-ish, though. I mean, Obama's made his own share of faux pas. He gave the Queen an iPod, for Christ's sake.
Well...
She's already got an iPod.
She's got an iPod Touch, I hear, and she
Homework-
goes skydiving.
Homework people. Does she?
Oh, the Olympics proved it. She jumped out of a bloody helicopter to get there.
Or did she? Ah,
Oh,
ah, ah,
ah,
ah.
ah.
You've been listening to the Holocaust Bantersnatch. I'm Dalek Sex. He's been Duff. Say goodbye, Duff.
Goodbye, Duff.
Make sure to look for us on Twitter, Spreaker, and iTunes. Please give us a review on iTunes for either the Holocaust Bantersnatch or our main show, Holocaust in Your Locals, which returns this Christmas for Season 3. And I hear that Santa may even have a non-canon Christmas Day special where we can actually be nice and not kill anyone or have anyone raped as part of the plot.
Bantersnatch.
This is the Bantersnatch.
Awesome. Candace.